Our next topic is relevancy.
So my relevancy story is, if my boss sees this, he's going to be very upset. We had to do wide format material for both the Republican and Democratic conventions this year. So the word, do the right thing, to me, I use that a lot. Cost definitely is a lot of mine when I tell you this story. So the Republican convention was in Cleveland. It was our job to put a lot of wide format stuff together for the studio. There was a lot of backdrops, a lot of very large stuff that we had to put together. So, and it had to be shipped and be there, I think it was Friday, so it can be completely set up. We were fully prepared, but it was a lot of material. So we actually put it in a crate. We were going to ship it in the crate, and my guys worked really hard to protect all that. So when it leaves your hands, you don't know what's going to happen next. Well, it turns out that I didn't have the provider. Somebody else provided the shipper, and they came and picked it up and took it to the warehouse to load on the truck. They decided to stack another skid on top of mine and literally crushed our skid. So the one whole side crushed, but this is how I could easily could have gone back and said, well, I didn't hire all that stuff. It was very expensive to do it all. But, you got to do the right thing. You got to look at what that impact is, not only to your team, because in the end, my team's going to get blamed for it anyway, but also to your company that you're working for. So as soon as we got the phone call late Wednesday night, I had the shipper taking pictures with his cell phone, sending me what was damaged. My operators are already in the back pulling supplies. We literally worked all the way into the morning, so we had our own courier, repackaged what we had, and met the truck that was still on its way to Cleveland to be there in time. And we met, I forget what they met, at what point they met, but they were able to put our product back on there and deliver it in a time frame. Was it expensive? Yes. I'll figure out how we're going to make up the costs later on, but the most important thing is I have a customer for life. I can't tell you how thankful she was that the studio didn't look, like half of it. In the end, it probably only been able to use a certain part of it. I now know that no matter what, she's going to come back to us and use us all the time. But in the end, I still believe in that word. You got to do the right thing. A lot of people focus on money, and sometimes that impact on your team, because in the end, it's going to be my team. Bank didn't do it. Only half showed up. Some of the stuff was, then they got damaged in the shipment. Well, I didn't choose the shipper, but in the end, we had to still do the right thing, because in the end, when your company is being represented like that, you got to make sure that they look fantastic. Will you get any phone calls? I think most of you know when you do a great job, you never get a phone call. You might get donuts here and there, but ultimately, if something goes bad, you're the first person to know about it, and within minutes they call you. So in the end, you got to make sure you do the right thing. You got to make sure you're taking care of your team. And yes, there's going to be cost, and probably in the end, it's going to be me at the end of this year trying to explain the decision I made to do that. But I think in the end, it would be, all right, how are we going to make it up next year, and how I'm going to give that money back. So my word is, staying relevant is you got to do the right thing. Make sure you do the right thing for what's best for your customer and what's best for your company.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
And in fairness, they printed for both conventions.
Yeah, we did both.
Make sure we said that.
You figure the Philadelphia one was the closest one to me. I'm in Jersey, right? It could have been nice and easy. No, I had the one that went bad. But if the one in Philly went bad, I didn't have the supplies. We bought everything all in one shot. So when it still gave us time, I used what was going to be in Philly to do the reprint, so, and then we were able to still order the supplies for the Philly stuff. So yes, we did both events.
Gail.
We stay relevant by being sure that we can do basically anytime anybody calls for anything, we're looking for an answer to their question. If it's as simple as they ordered the wrong size paper and they need it cut in half, or they've got 70 posters that need laminating, but they need them in the next 3 hours. Well, if I've got backed up materials for administration or something and we can't do that, then we offer to train the person to run their laminator themselves. So anything that gets them what they need, even if they have to put in a little extra effort if we're tied up with something else, we're always willing to train and let them help themselves with it. But we're always looking for something. We're about to build a 5th hospital, and one of the things that they needed something extremely different to help promote because they wanted to do a vote in the county to do a sales tax referendum. And so we were able to get some specially cut megaphones that pop out if you run them through our copier. So, you know, an outside shop's not going to fool with 300 megaphones in one day. So we were able to get that for them, and repositional clings. So we have a lot of offices, we're doing a lot of buildings, so we have a lot of offices moving. So instead of them putting money into engineering, doing signage for every place, we're trying to keep it a little cheaper, plus they can move it, because there's some of the offices that are having to move 3 times before they put in a permanent location. So we do them a repositional cling out of white material. They can put it on any window or any wall wherever they go and point the people to the right direction. Also, we have a lot of indigent care patients, and they were having trouble with, when they print them out, paperwork, so they show it the next time they come to the hospital, they don't have to look them up in the system again. People were losing that because it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So we find them the paper with the cards that, you know, once they print, they can fill the card off, put the card in their wallet. So they've got the number every time they need it. So for us, it's just finding anything they need to answer their need. So, so never say no.
Yeah, so maintaining relevancy, I guess, again, I'm going to go back to the people that work for me in graphics and mail operations, their buy-in. In order for us to maintain relevancy, we have to be that, you know, inch deep, mile wide type services and products, but keeping our operation out on the front line. You know, 10 or 12 years ago when we decided we were going to start printing for students, most of the people in higher ed looked at me like, are you crazy? That's just not an area where you should be going. It shouldn't be, you know, just stay away from the student body. Well, that's actually helped us a lot, because now we're part of the admissions tour. You know, students are, that's a big part of selling the university, is having an on-campus print facility. There's not a lot of financial reward in that. However, it does keep us relevant when we're out front helping students solve problems. The other thing is in mail services, you know, there's plenty of opportunities to maintain relevancy there with handling of care packages, you know, interaction with parents who have a sick child on campus, and, you know, are you able to have a driver deliver it to the health center, you know, which we don't normally do. And then basically building customer confidence, because in the time, if and when the time comes that we are threatened with an outsource situation, or we're going down a path that's not relevant to the university, well, all those customers that you've helped, you're going to be going back to them and trying to get a groundswell to keep you in a service-oriented operation, keeping you in a positive light. But again, I can't stress enough that it all drives back to the staff that work for me, and whether it's students working in mail services that are just hired, or, you know, staff that have been there 10 or 12 years. They understand the philosophy, they understand service comes first, and like John said, you know, we'll figure out the cost down the road. Just let's get this person happy, get them whole, and get them on their way. And usually if you have a customer that you solve their problem and pulled their out of a fire, they're not going to question you on price. You may be able to have be a little more aggressive. Hey, look, I had people work the weekend. We don't normally charge overtime. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, here you go. You know, just take whatever you got to do, you do. You save me. So looking at opportunities on the front line of your constituents, whether it's departments or whether it's students or whether it's your own staff, you know, keeping them all moving in the same direction in a positive light is huge in maintaining the relevancy. And then aligning again with the mission statement of the university or your parent organization, making sure that you're not out in left field when they're in right field. There has to be some connect there with the mission statement. And your mission statement should include bits and pieces from the overall organizational mission statement. And we bring that up at staff meetings all the time. You know, are we doing the right thing? Are we aligned with the mission? And it's really hard for me to get my mind around that in the beginning. Like, what does educating students have to do with print on paper? Well, once we made that connection and we were able to formulate our own mission statement that we all live and breathe by, it really just kind of fell into place after that. So.
Thanks, Mike. Amy?
Who here again said they do transactional print? Was anybody? Just a couple? Okay, do you have custom print shops then too? Do you have shops that do marketing pieces as well? Are they separate? Or are they one? Okay, just curious, because I think that's part of our relevancy issue. You know, we're really working, again, kind of on that mission statement. We're trying to get, they're in two separate facilities, they're in two separate locations. It's kind of a redundancy factor, so we have a little bit of a disaster recovery within both of our facilities. So the only thing they couldn't do in our transactional print is there's no 4-color out there. So they wouldn't be able to do some of the custom work until we got up and running again, but that's part of it. Is the relevancy of that is to make sure they understand that even though they're in two separate places, that we're all one team. And so, you know, it's a challenge to, we need to be faster, things need to be easier. You know, it's we've been around for a long time, Mutual of Omaha, so getting people's heads and hands around the fact that they were doing checks, merging checks and letters by hand. Because if there's a special group of checks that need to go out with this letter, you know, we're printing it here, we're taking it by courier back into the home office. They're taking those checks and inserting them with letters. So that's part of this whole doing the new software program so that we're getting people to merge that information. So it's just staying relevant for us is really, a lot of it is technology and trying to get them to get their heads around, we can do this for you, make it easy for them, setting up templates so they can go in and do these letters and print the checks behind them and barcode it all and merge them all together and mail them out with them out having to touch it. And that's where we're moving, and it's paying off. People are starting to get it. They're starting to come to us and ask us how we're doing it because the other departments that are starting to do it are talking about it. So that's probably one of the biggest ways that we are staying relevant with all of our departments and keeping them, you know, it's just keeping them inquisitive about what we're doing, keeping them curious about what we're doing and getting them to ask the questions and letting us help them.